Today in grammar we're going to talk about a couple of things, but first we're going to start talking about how do we avoid using double negatives. Okay, using two negatives together in a sentence is called a double negative. You should never use two negatives together in a sentence. All right, so they didn't have nothing hot to drink at breakfast. To identify the double negative, I ask this thinking question. What two negatives are used together in the sentence? The negatives didn't and nothing are used together. So to correct the sentence, I will need to remove one of the negatives. So I could say, they didn't have anything hot to drink at breakfast. Let's look at the first one. We're going to choose the correct word in parentheses and then talk about, we're not going to actually write it because this is a projectable, but we're going to discuss it. Okay? So why doesn't nobody or somebody brew some tea? We have a negative here with a contraction with not. So do we want to use nobody or somebody? Remember, we don't want two negatives, so we need to use somebody to avoid a double negative. I can't find the tea anywhere or nowhere. We already have can't, so we don't want two negatives, so I can't find the tea anywhere. Ever or never touch the bottom of a hot tea kettle. Well, this doesn't have any negatives, so we can use never if we'd like. And it makes the most sense in the sentence. Ever touch the bottom of a hot tea kettle doesn't make sense, but never touch the bottom of a hot tea kettle, that makes more sense. There are or aren't no clean teacups. We have a negative here, no. So which of these do we need to use from the parentheses? Right, we don't want the negative. There are no clean teacups. All right. Well, pause the video here and see if you and your learning adult can figure out 5 through 10 and come back to the video when you're done. All right, now that you've had some practice, it's your turn. Reader's Notebook, page 297. You have examples up here of what we've talked about. If you need more help, you can discuss that with your learning adult. Here's your thinking question. Otherwise, you're going to move right down here into doing the exact same thing we just did on the projectable, but this time you get to actually write the word, or circle would be okay too. Circle the word in parentheses that completes the sentence. Remember, do not use two negatives together in a sentence. When you're done with 1 through 8, please come back to the video. To finish up grammar today, we're going to talk about conventions. Proofreading can help you make certain that you have used contractions and negatives correctly in your writing. All right, here's an incorrect with proofreading marks. So learning to sew wasn't never difficult for Esther. Here we have crossed out wasn't, because wasn't and never makes the sentence have a double negative. Crossed out wasn't, added their caret, and then used the word was. So here's the correct way. Learning to sew was never difficult for Esther. See how much better that sounds? So your job here is to correct the use of contractions or double negatives in each sentence and write the sentence correctly on the line below. If you want to use the proofreading marks like this one, you may do that. That'll make this page go quicker. But if you want to write out the whole sentence, you may do that on the line provided below each one. So Esther doesn't like that dress pattern. All right, so this needs to be corrected. Esther doesn't like that dress pattern. What is wrong with that sentence? The only problem here is that doesn't has the apostrophe in the wrong spot. So I would use my cross it out, my caret, and then I would spell doesn't correctly. D-O-E-S apostrophe N apostrophe T. All right. The only problem there was that the apostrophe was in the wrong place. So you're going to work through those. You can use the proofreading marks or you can rewrite the whole sentence underneath. Make sure to have your learning adult check your work.